Vanna White has become a household name as one of the co-hosts of Wheel of Fortune. Although she's become a part of the family for many households, few have had the opportunity to see what Vanna's like outside of her successful show. Thankfully, she's made a few appearances over the years in various TV programs that showcase a different side of the beloved TV personality. Join Factsverse as we reveal a new side of Vanna White. Vanna White has been the co-host of Wheel of Fortune for well over 3 decades. Alongside co-host Pat Sajak, Vanna has become a part of the family for many households thanks to her time on the game show. Despite the fact that audiences have become incredibly familiar with Vanna, fans haven't gotten many opportunities to see what she's like outside the show. In the early 90s, Vanna made a notable appearance on the hit Fox comedy Married with Children. At the time, Vanna had already achieved immense popularity after a decade on Wheel of Fortune. She proved an incredible get for the Fox comedy, which took full advantage of her charm and appeal. Any fans of Vanna White who haven't seen that appearance should certainly seek the episode out. It was called The Proposition. The episode served as a parody of the popular thriller Indecent Proposal, with Vanna playing a counterpart to Demi Moore's character in that film. As such, Vanna's character was tasked with seducing Al Bundy, the father character from the show. The episode aired during their 7th season. Her character was named Coco. She was Al's former high school girlfriend, now a successful businesswoman. Coco had regrets about letting Al get away and offered Al's wife, Peg, a hefty sum to take him off her hands. Although Al and Peg certainly didn't always see eye to eye in their marriage, and she could have definitely used the money, she reluctantly turned the offer down. Vanna also appeared in an episode of Full House. It was called The Test, and she played the teacher of one of the Tanner kids. She's also made a few appearances in other mediums like film. Due to the fame she acquired from hosting Wheel of Fortune, Vanna was cast in the 2nd sequel to Leslie Nielsen's hit comedy The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. The 3rd film was called Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult. Leslie isn't the only funny man that Vanna has appeared alongside, as she also made an appearance alongside parody musician Weird Al Yankovic while the two performed at an awards show ceremony. Vanna has also taken other roles within Wheel of Fortune. Co-host Pat Sajak was put out of commission in 2019 after having to undergo surgery for intestinal blockage. During that time, Vanna filled in for her longtime co-host. Although Vanna had been a staple of the show for as long as Pat, she found herself nervous while filling in. But one can imagine Pat would also feel out of place if tasked with turning the show's iconic letters. Vanna began her time on Wheel of Fortune in 1982. 2 years before, she had attempted to play a part on another game show, but she wasn't aiming to be a host, but a contestant. Apparently, she tried to be a contestant on The Price is Right in 1980, but she didn't make it far enough into the process to make it on air. As legend has it, the events that led to Vanna getting her role on Wheel of Fortune started with the taping of an episode of a show called Dance Fever. Vanna was appearing as a dancer on the show. Merv Griffin, the same man who produced Wheel of Fortune, produced Dance Fever. A woman named Janet Jones, who later became the wife of hockey legend Wayne Gretzky, introduced Vanna to Merv's assistant. After the introduction, Merv's assistant called Vanna and asked her if she wanted to audition for the role of co-host on Wheel of Fortune. Vanna jumped at the opportunity. The news came on Thanksgiving Day, and Vanna was given the job by the end of the year. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Although Vanna White is certainly the most iconic letter turner to ever grace Wheel of Fortune, she wasn't the first. Before her, Susan Stafford fulfilled the role. As legend has it, Susan despised the position, feeling it was below her. Vanna, on the other hand, was incredibly grateful to take her place. When Merv Griffin was asked why he picked Vanna, he said it was because she turned the letters the best. Besides her aforementioned appearances in other mediums, she also appeared in a 1987 issue of Playboy. However, the appearance was technically made without her permission. When Vanna had first come to Hollywood, she found herself broke and at risk of being kicked out of her apartment. Not wanting to suffer the humiliation of begging to her father for money, Vanna posed for a lingerie photo shoot. The photos that arose from this shoot fell into the hands of one of Vanna's bitter ex-boyfriends. After she rose to fame on Wheel of Fortune, this bitter ex decided to try to use her fame to get some money. He took the pictures to Playboy mogul Hugh Hefner, who was interested. Although Hugh was supposedly friends with Vanna, he decided to publish the pictures even after she politely asked him not to. Because of this, Vanna never spoke to Hugh again. The star has since expressed guilt about the grudge she held against her former friend until his death, but it's hard to blame her after he stabbed her in the back. Vanna has been married twice in her life and is currently married to her second husband. She was engaged to a soap opera actor named John Gibson. This was in the 80s before John's tragic death in a plane crash. John died in 1986, and Vanna ended up marrying first husband George Santopietro several years later in 1990. George was a restaurateur, and Vanna's marriage to him lasted for over a decade. The two began trying to have children soon into their marriage, though Vanna suffered a miscarriage after their initial attempt. But eventually they had 2 children before their divorce in 2002. Vanna and George's children are son Nicholas and daughter Giovanna, born in 1994 and 97. After divorcing George in 2002, Vanna began dating a businessman named Michael Kay. Soon after dating, the two announced they were engaged. But the marriage never panned out. They ended up splitting up before any ceremony occurred. Several years after this, Vanna wound up with the man who eventually became her second husband, John Donaldson. Vanna met John in 2012, and the two were married the same year. They're currently still together, though they haven't had any children. Vanna's only 2 children are Nicholas and Giovanna from her marriage to George Pietro. John is a successful contractor. Many have wondered if Vanna has ever hooked up with her Wheel of Fortune co-host, Pat Sajak, but the two have continuously denied they've never seen each other as anything more than friends. Still, the two have a very close relationship. They've co-hosted Wheel of Fortune together for nearly 4 decades, and both have expressed that neither is willing to continue their stay on the program without the other. Given that, fans are constantly speculating about their eventual retirement. For the time being, both Vanna and Pat have expressed they're willing to continue their stay on Wheel of Fortune for at least the next several years, though any time beyond that seems sketchy. Vanna is currently 64 and could likely keep up the role for several more decades, but Pat is a decade older and likely much closer to retiring. Either way, both have likely had plenty of time on TV for one lifetime and deserve to retire whenever they choose. Now it's time to hear from you. Comment down below if you saw any of the non-Wheel of Fortune appearances Vanna has made on TV. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts Verse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.